Hey guys, so I don't know if you guys know this, but Humanitas University's 2024-2025 intake just opened. So if you are a non-EU student or a non-EU aspirant that wants to study medicine at Humanitas, then this video is for you because I'm about to go over everything you need to know in order to apply and be admitted into the course starting in 2024 in September. And if you're an EU student, then let me know in the comments if you want a video like this, because your document is slightly different than the document I'm going to go over, but I'd be more than happy to go over and answer any questions that you guys have either on Instagram or on my email. So very briefly, Humanitas releases this 20-page document every single year, and it has all the details you would ever need to apply specifically for September of 2024-2025. It has 20 pages, 13 sections. A few of these sections have subsections. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all these basically 20 pages. I'm going to highlight the things that I think are very worth remembering, and I'm going to distill the things that are kind of not clear so that they're very, very clear for everybody. And I do have to say that I'm not officially affiliated to Humanitas University beyond being a student. I just enjoy doing this, and I get a lot of questions whose answers are in this document and now in this video. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it. But all right, let's get started with section number 1, and feel free to use the timestamps to skip around to whatever questions you have, all right? So it's important to know that this document, while technically only for 2024, for the entrance in September, it also has some points that relate to 2025, so in 2 years' time. And so article number 1 is how many places are available. And this is very clearly stated that for non-EU students, it is 50 places available for both 2024 and 2025. And that might change, but for now that's what we have. Article number 2 is admission requirements, and there's 2 subsections to this section. The first one being citizenship and age requirements. The only age requirement is that you have to be over 18 by the 31st of August of 2024. You can't be a minor. And there is no upper limit on age. I've had classmates that are in first year were in their 40s, in their 30s, their mid-20s, 18, 19, 20, like there's a lot of ages. Don't be afraid if you're an older student, and just make sure that by the 31st of August you will be at least 18. And since this is a video for non-EU students, and this is a document for non-EU students, you cannot hold an EU or Italian citizenship. And if you have both, if you have dual citizenships, like I know people that are like half Italian, half Latin American of some country, and they are automatically shifted into the EU category. You have to apply with your EU citizenship. You can't pick and choose. The second subsection of Article 2 of admission requirements is educational requirements. And it's basically what academic requirements you need to be able to apply and be admitted into Humanitas. What this says is basically that you need either to be in possession of a high school diploma, so you've graduated and you have your diploma. You need to be graduating in 2024, or you need to be graduating in 2025, but this third option is only if you're applying to be considered in 2025 September, which will become important later in the document. If you haven't graduated from Italy, you will need a declaration of value, which is a document that is issued by the Italian diplomatic authorities, where you send them your diploma, and they kind of stamp it officially to say that this is valid as education in Italy as well. And that's mainly if you got this diploma after 12 years of total schooling. I know in some countries it's after 10 or 11 years that you graduate from like pre-university school, so to speak, like high school, middle school, like all combined, it's 10 or 11 years. If that's the case, you need to have 1 year or 2 years of a undergrad or a university education to then apply with your high school diploma and your university diploma to Humanitas. So you need in total 12 years of schooling, that being either high school or high school plus some years of university, to then apply to Humanitas and be considered. And obviously you need to have passed all your exams for all your university exams. You can't just coast by the first 2 years and then not pass any exams and then try to apply. You need your exams, and they will ask for a transcript and stuff, so don't try to apply without the exams. So Article 3 is something that I know everybody's a bit anxious about, and I've made a bunch of videos about that you can check up here, but it's the HUMAT admission test. And the main line in this section is that you need to take and pass the HUMAT to be able to go into Humanitas University. Everybody does it. You have to do it. You have to pass it. You have to pass it well, but we'll come to the results later. And basically there's 2 rounds in which you can do the HUMAT, and in each of these rounds there's 2 sessions. So there's 4 total sessions available for the HUMAT, of which you can do 2. And this sounds a little bit confusing, but that's part of section 4. So for now, in this section, it's outlined that there is a session in February and a session in March. And it's also mentioned that for those of you that are in your second to last year of high school, so those graduating in 2025, you can apply and take the HUMAT, and then you can keep those grades, and then you can take the HUMAT again in 2025, March and February. And now you have 4 grades that will be considered, and you can choose your highest one to apply to Humanitas University. So they have double the chances, so to speak, because they have 1 more year to do that. So it's a really big advantage if you already know you want to study medicine in your second to last year of high school, and if you know you want to go to Humanitas. I would really recommend doing this if you can afford to pay both sessions and everything, which we'll talk about later as well. And the rest of the section simply talks about the admission test, which I've talked about before. It's basically 60 multiple choice questions with 4 options, of which 1 is correct, and this test is negatively graded. It's 30 questions related to scientific thinking, which is divided into 10 questions in procedural thinking, 10 questions into mathematical thinking, and 10 questions into visual thinking. You can check out my videos up here. I really recommend it if the HUMAT is stressing you out. And then there's also 30 questions in academic literacy. And then we move on to section or article 4. Article number 4 is called Application for the Admission Test, Deadlines and Modalities. It has 4 subsections that I'll talk about in a bit, because this is the important part that you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss the deadline, you don't want to miss the day, you don't want to sleep in on the day of your HUMAT exam, etc. Registration opened 12 days ago on October 30th, 13 days ago on October 30th. It closes, okay, this is where it gets a bit tricky, so pay attention. You have until January 24th to register if you want to take both exam sessions, the one in February and the one in March. If by January 24th you haven't registered, you can still register. You have from January 24th to February 28th to register, but you will only be able to take the second call, which is it means that if you register before January 24th, you can take both exams. If you register after January 24th, maximum by February 28th, you can take only the March session. So I would strongly recommend that you take both, because you're doubling your chances of studying at Humanitas, as they put on their website in a very nice way. Subsection 4.1 is called Testing Dates and Admissions. It outlines mainly that the test is home-based, meaning you can do it on your computer anywhere in the world. The first test date is February 2nd. The second test date is March 8th. Both of these days are Fridays, 2024. And there are 2 dates for the test and 4 sessions. So on Friday, February 2nd, you can choose to either do it at 10:30 Central European Time or at 1:30 Central European Time. And on Friday, March 8th, the second round, you can do it either at 10:30 Central European Time or 1:30 Central European Time. Now, this is important, and it's something that you should choose consciously if you don't live in Europe, because I had to take mine at like 4 in the morning. Like it really does matter, and it's important that you don't sleep in on that day, or that you're ready, or that if you focus more in the afternoon, you choose the one that works better for you. It does make a difference, and sometimes a couple of points will make a difference. Then we go on to talk about the online registration procedures, where there's 3 main steps that you guys need to follow. Step 1, online registration to the Humanitas University registration portal. Basically, what you need to do is go to the website that I'll link in the description, and you must register to the portal by entering your name, surname, and email address. Then you'll get an email from Microsoft. They'll send you you need to click accept invitation and then request a single-use access code. It's important that you know that every time you want to access, you will have to request a single-use access code. So don't freak out if the first one doesn't work for the 3rd time you're trying to log in, okay? Step number 2, registration for the actual admission test. So far we've only registered for the portal. Now you need to actually register for the admission test. And this will only work if it's before the deadline. Please. You're gonna have to fill in a bunch of personal data, then click on apply and select the Medicine and Surgery 2024 admission test. Step number 3, here is where you have to think about your choice. You have to choose a session and then you have to pay. So you have to select, depending on when you're doing this, either 1 or 2 sessions, and you have to select a time. And then if you have special education needs, you have to make that clear. You have to tell them, and they will be very accommodating actually. You then have to pay, and it's only after payment that you have secured your spot. If you haven't paid, you're not done. And according to this document, no later than January 26th for the first, for people that registered before the 24th, you should have a confirmation email with all the instructions for you to access the first exam round. And on March 1st, you will receive this confirmation email with all the instructions on how to take the exam, the second exam on March 8th, right? So you won't get it immediately, you'll get it once the registration deadline has passed, 1 or 2 days more, and you'll get it, not immediately after. And if you haven't, you can email this email. The fee you have to pay to take 1 or 2 sessions, it doesn't change, is 180 euros that you can only pay by credit card. It doesn't matter if you're registering for 1 or both, you have to pay 180 euros regardless. If you took the exams in 2023, you have to pay 50 euros and you can register for both sessions. If your plan is to take them in 2025, take into consideration that you have to pay 180 for 2024 and you will have to pay 50 to take them again in 2025. I repeat, because they repeat, the registration procedure for the test is only completed after you've paid. If you haven't paid, your space, your spot is not safe yet, it's not secure. You have to pay and then it's secure. Also, and they bolded it in this document, the registration fee is not refundable under any circumstances. So once you give them your 180 euros or your 50 euros, it's theirs. And if you get sick, if whatever happens and you can't make the test, you're not getting that money back. Now I know this sounds kind of scary and like it's definitely a lot of commitment. So if you want to make sure you pass the HUMAT, I just wrote a small ebook. It's also 20 pages where I discuss everything I know about the HUMAT, everything I've learned, everything others have told me, everything I wish I knew, and I'm selling it on Gumroad, which will be the first link in the description. And since I know that like we're students, I made a sample free, and it's a few pages of the ebook to make sure that you're getting your value's worth and you know what you're getting. That one is completely free and you can go download it right now. It's the first or the second link in the description. And it would really help me out if you buy it, and I'm definitely sure it'll help you out if you buy it. And leave me a review or a rating or anything, and yeah, hopefully it's helpful and hopefully it helps you get into med school, which is the goal of these videos and the goal of the channel kind of. But anyway, I'm rambling. Go get the ebook, back to the video. Now, subsection 4.2 called delivery of the admission test basically says that at the end of the registration, you will receive a confirmation email with all the details on how to set up your computer for the test. And there are 2 main things that you're required to do. Install Proctor Exam on Google Chrome. If you go to proctorexam.com, that's what you're looking for. And then complete a system check, which will verify your video, your audio, and your Wi-Fi. So do it where you're going to do the test. And then you have to do these things 48 hours, at least 48 hours before the test. At least 48 hours prior to the exam, you'll also get a second email with a link to access the exam and instructions on how to complete the identification, which will basically be like you showing your ID to the camera, stuff like that, saying your name. I don't really remember, something like that. And you have to do that. It is scheduled in the hour before the test session you booked. So if you booked at 1:30, you will need to be there starting at 12:30 to do this identification thing. This says any official photo ID can be used, so passport, national ID card, driving license, whatever you have is valid. And then the link will be inactive up until the time that the test starts, which is the time that they said, and then the test will be active. So they briefly repeat that you have 120 minutes for the test, divided into 60 minutes for the scientific thinking questions and 60 minutes for the academic literacy questions, giving you a time of 2 minutes per question, non-transferable time. Once the section is done, it's done. You can't go back, you can't use your spare time, whatever. I've covered that in other videos and in the ebook. And then they go on to give you a bunch of rules. Like for example, if you don't do the identification test, your test is void or you can't sit it. Once the candidate submits part 1, so scientific thinking, always, or the time expires, you cannot go back. Like once you're done, you're done. So make sure you use 100% of that time. Don't skip ahead because you finished early thinking you might be able to go back later. You must always be visible on your webcam. You can't go to the bathroom, you can't get up to like pick something up. Nothing short of an emergency should get you up that seat. You can use a blank pen and paper, as long as you show it both sides to the invigilator to know that, so they know it's blank and they have a record that it's blank. Can't use headphones, they will check your ears too. You can't use phone, books, notes, your computer, etc. You have to be in a clear lit room and visible for the entire duration of the test. Again, these are things that you will see, so don't stress too much about it. And nobody else is allowed in the room, and they will check. They'll make you like rotate your phone in all directions and like under the table, like up, down, etc. Like nobody, like it's not easy to cheat and it's not right to cheat, so don't cheat. Avoid it. Study. You have time. If there was a problem with your Wi-Fi or your device for up to 10 minutes, the supervision committee will kind of like deliberate to see if you can continue with the test. And there's a timer on the proctor thing, so don't worry about it. You don't have to count the time if your Wi-Fi crashes or something. And like while you're doing the test, there is a person looking at you the entire time. Like you will always be monitored, and if you don't comply with any of the rules that I just said, you will be disqualified. Subsection 4.3 is just requirement of hardware and software. You need to have one computer or laptop with a functioning webcam, microphone, and speakers. And you also need a smartphone or tablet. So you need 2 devices, a laptop and a smartphone or tablet with a functioning camera. Then they go on about software, Windows 8, Mac OS 10.14 or later. You need Google Chrome, and you need a Wi-Fi connection. Subsection 4.4 talks about what happens if you disconnect from the admission test. You will be granted to take an opportunity to retake the test after an investigation by the supervision committee. You need to write an email to admissions@hunimed.eu by midnight of the day of the exam session. Midnight Central Eastern Time, not your midnight, okay? And it should just like outline the details and the documentation and the evidence of the disruption. And then they'll tell you by February 6th or by March 11th. If you are disconnected from the platform, you will be assigned the test score that you had at the time of disconnection. The retake is on March 13th at 2:30 Central Eastern Time. When you retake it, you kind of cancel the result of the session of the test that you failed, that you were disconnected from. Section 5 is called candidates with special education needs. You need to make a formal request at the time of the application in the second step that we talked about a few sections ago. You must indicate that you need to receive special accommodation, and you need to attach a valid medical certificate. And you get 30% extra time compared to standard time. And be careful because you can only take the 1:30 CET test. You can't take the morning one, you can only take the midday-ish one. Don't worry though, if you click the morning one, they will bump you down to the 1:30 one. Just make sure that you know that you're taking the 1:30 one if you are applying for special education needs. Article 6, test assessment and rankings. Very obviously this says that if you score higher, you'll be higher up on the list. If you score lower, so it's formatted in a descending order. If you applied for 2024, your 2023 grades will be considered for the HUMAT if you took it. Don't worry if you didn't. And then they'll consider only your highest score if you have 2 or more sessions. If you're applying for 2025, then also don't worry because you'll take your 2024 grades and 2025 HUMAT grades into account, but they only take the highest one. So you have a bigger pool of grades that will be considered. You guys remember how in Article 4.2 we talked about a second email where you would get instructions for the test? At least 48 hours prior to the exam, you'll also get a second email with a link to access the exam and instructions on how to complete the identification. On top of that, you get credentials. Using those credentials after the test will allow you to see your score, your performance, your results, so to speak. And it's not a provisional list of everybody, it's just your own, but it can give you an idea of how you did. The scores are assigned as follows, and I've said this in other videos too: +3 for correct answers, 0 for non-answers, -1 for correct answers. The highest you can therefore get is 180. The minimum you need per section is 20 points. If you score less than 20 points on either section, you will not be considered. And honestly, if you're scoring only 20 points per section, I would suggest you practice a bit more. You definitely need a bit higher to be comfortably in consideration. So very briefly, should you and another candidate tie, there is a number of tiebreaker decisions that the university will go through. The first one being the differences between the two sections. The smaller the difference in scores between the two sections, the better. The second category, if the sections were to be the same, is that the higher score in the scientific thinking section will get in, will be prioritized. The third consideration that they take is that within the scientific thinking section, the scores are ranked in ascending order of importance to procedural thinking, visual thinking, and mathematical thinking. So if you scored better in procedural thinking than the other person, you'll get in. If you scored better than the other person in visual thinking, you'll get in, and mathematical thinking, so on. And in case everything is equal, which is really unlikely, the younger candidate gets in. After both tests, both sessions have happened, between March 15th and March 20th, you will have those 5 days to go into the Humanitas University registration portal that we talked about previously and visualize all the scores you've gotten in the HUMAT, so either 2023 and 2024 up to four different numbers. Choose the highest one and submit it to be published in the ranking list. If you do not do this, you will not be in the ranking, you cannot get in. So please remember to do this. It's really important. Set a reminder, put in your calendar, whatever. Remember to do this and just choose the higher score. Article 7 is called Ranking List Publication, and it's drawn up to what we just talked about. And basically you go to My Portal, which is the Humanitas website, and then you log into the reserved area. You go into the student office section and then click on the admission test section. And you can visualize your own position in the ranking and along with the status admitted, not admitted, or rejected. And then on March 27th, Humanitas will publish on their website, hunimed.eu, the official ranking list for everybody to see with your candidate number, so it'll be anonymous, but it'll be out there for everybody to see. So moving on to section 8, we have online enrollment and reserve list for 2024-2025. Enrollment is completed online, and you have from the 27th of March, the publication of this list, to April 2nd. The top 10 non-EU candidates are considered for scholarship. 4 can get it, and you can watch those videos here. And those candidates are considered pre-enrolled. Candidates from position 11 to 50 are labeled entitled to enroll, and candidates from 51 to 65 are conditionally enrolled, because a lot of people that either didn't get the scholarship or that are just conditionally enrolled end up dropping out or choosing other options, and so the list scrolls up. By April 2nd, if you're between numbers 11 and 65, so entitled to enrolled and conditionally enrolled, you have to have paid the 4,156 euros. If you don't, you cannot be considered and you will be automatically rejected. This is the first installment of university, and the 4 installments are, I think, 4,156, 6,000, 5,000, 5,000, unless you got scholarship, in which case, congratulations. If you're number 66 onwards, don't get yourself too down, because it is very likely that it'll scroll up. Obviously it depends on the number whether you get in or not, but it'll definitely scroll up if you are suddenly considered to enroll. So if you were 70 and now suddenly you are within the top 50, you will get an email. You have a certain number of days that the university will tell you in that email to pay the 4,156. If you don't, you will also be rejected. So check your email and make sure you kind of have that money on hand, or are able to get it in the span of a few days so that you can pay the university if you get conditionally accepted. Article 9 talks about the reimbursement of the first installment. You will only get back 4,000 euros. The 156 are kind of a regional tax that only transfer students get because they already kind of paid it to the other university. So if you're not a transfer student, you will only get back 4,000 euros. If you were conditionally admitted from position 141 to 170, if your enrollment cannot be confirmed. This happens if higher positions in the rankings are not made available, as in if less people drop out than would be necessary for you to scroll up, then you will get your money back. Under no other conditions will your first installment be reimbursed. Have that in mind. It's an expensive plan B. If you're going to take the TOLC or the IMAT later, if you're kind of not sure about it, 4,000 euros is a significant amount of money to put down on a maybe option. It's a great university, don't get me wrong, I enjoy being there, but think about it. Article 10 talks about enrollment and what the steps are. Step 1 is to upload the following documents to the My Portal website. Picture or a photocopy of your passport, of your tax code if you have it, and of your passport photo. Then provide the declaration of high school qualification that you have already gotten or that you will be getting by 2024. It's only after you do these two things, the payment and the submission of these documents, that you can consider yourself to be fully enrolled at Humanitas University and a student of medicine at Humanitas University. And if that's happened, congratulations. Remember that if you are graduating from a foreign high school, you need to have a officially translated version of your diploma, as well as a declaration of value that is released by your consulate. So you have to send your diploma first to be translated, and then to the consulate so they can do the declaration of value, and then you can submit it. There is an exception if you have, for example, like if you did like the IB and stuff, which is what I did, so I didn't really have to do that because it's internationally recognized, but that's on the website that you can check out. And but yeah, just a reminder that you do need to do that. Article 11 is simply who is on the supervision committee, which honestly does not matter. Article 12 is a really nice and simplified table of deadlines that I'll put up on the screen now that you can screenshot, you can pause, you can do anything. And finally, Article 13 is the OFA test, or the additional training obligation, which is basically what the induction weeks are about, which is basically an induction month from the start of September, well, all through September basically, in which you first do an exam before September, which is maths, physics, chem, and biology. And it's 10 questions each. You need 5 to pass. If you fail, throughout the induction weeks, you will receive classes that will help you get better at the subject, so everybody kind of starts at the same level. And then you will have to do the OFA test again. If you fail, you can do it every month until you've passed them. Don't worry, I failed all of them my first time, and then I failed 2 of them my second time, and then by the third time I had passed all of them. And that's really normal, and it doesn't hurt your grades, it doesn't hurt your admissions, it doesn't hurt your standing in the rankings or anything. By that, like, once you're there, you're already enrolled, and like it doesn't really matter, except that you can't take exams if you still have OFA tests that you need to complete, but I've never heard of that happening ever. Everybody always gets them done eventually. The university is very nice about it, and they're quite relaxed, and honestly it's not a big deal to be scared about. My advice would be to go to the induction weeks, because it's the time of the year when everybody's kind of socializing. You really don't have that much to do, you're meeting everybody, everybody's new, you're like meeting the people that live at campus, the people that live like maybe near your house, you're going out, you're exploring Milan. A lot of people haven't been there. It's a great city if you're young and can afford it, etc. It's great. But yeah, I honestly recommend, even if you do pass the OFA with flying colors and 100%, I would still kind of recommend you go to the induction weeks just for the social aspect. It's really where a lot of the like groups and the friendships are formed. Like the friends I've hung out with that you've seen in all the vlogs, they've been there since like basically the OFA, and it's been like 3 years now. I'm third year, and like honestly, I think it was great, and I'm kind of thankful I failed the OFAs and I forced myself to be in class, even if the classes themselves were classes at the end of the day. So yeah, the last 2 pages are just basically a syllabus of what's going to be in the HUMAT. I recommend you go through it if you really want. I really recommend you do the practice papers on the website. I really recommend you send me an email, and obviously I really recommend you buy the sample. You get the sample, the free sample of the ebook, and then buy the actual sample of the book in the link in the description if you find the ebook, the sample, useful. And that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for a tour of Humanitas next week, and then a proper description of the ebook in the following weeks. And I'll see you guys around. Good luck with the admission and everything.